Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She's Empowered interview series. Tonight, I am very excited to speak to this beautiful Latin flower. Oh, I swear to God, she lights up the room. The beautiful Dora has joined us
Hello.
this evening. Hi, sweetie.
Hi. Thank you for
How,
having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Look, you know what, we were just talking before I hit record about finding the time as working mums to do these things. And I always feel like I'm invading on everyone's space so much, not only having to sort of have done the book with me, but to find time through with being a mum and being a businesswoman, then to also go, oh, I've got to do this interview for Maxine. Like, I love you guys so much, and I really
No,
appreciate
this is
you.
great. You hit the nail on the head. You called it perfectly. You called it the golden hour. And this is the time when my sister wants to call me. I'm like, don't call me between 6 and 8:30, witching hour. After 8:30, there's a time before it gets too late. Just before 10 o'clock, between 8:30 and 10, golden hour. I've got time. I've
That's
got
it.
all the time at that
And
time.
mamas know
Yeah.
this. We know that time, like where we can just give a little bit extra of ourselves to maybe just do something for ourselves. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate you. How are you,
For
beautiful?
ourselves. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Look, all these little snap lockdowns and big lockdowns and mini lockdowns and all these
Yeah,
restrictions. It can be hard to navigate at times because, do you, don't you, do you?
yeah,
And especially, running a business, you kind of get into a position where your own personal belief on what's happening or what's not happening, you've got to, does my how where does my business sit in
yeah,
that? Do you know what I mean? Do I follow what the government says? Do I follow what I think personally?
yeah,
How do I, you know, how do I lead the people that come to me?
yeah,
What's
absolutely.
so it's hard. It's one of those balances between your personal opinion and what I guess
Yeah.
the government is.
It is.
But that's a whole
It is.
that's a whole nother probably episode.
It is definitely. Look, we could call it the COVID Chronicles, hun. Like it's just I've spoken to a few of the ladies that obviously featured in the book, and a few of them are based in Melbourne. And while they were on lockdown, we did some of our interviews and talking to them about how it felt because Melbourne's gone through a whole other machine of quarantine and lockdowns, and then Sydney with
Mm-hmm.
ours. And look, running business it's hard enough as it is, right? And then being female business leaders and entrepreneurs is that's a whole different set of tools that we're operating there. So then when you're trying to deal with, you know, lockdowns and government regulations and people's requirements and the customer, and you're in the fitness world, like I can't even imagine what a slippery slope that has been for you in the last year with gyms shutting down and you can only work out within this distance and don't breathe on me, and it's mind blowing. So how have you been able to navigate it and still maintain the success that you have? Like you've got a really really successful business that you're obviously in operation with your two other sisters, and it's called
Yeah,
Saltofit, and it's brilliant,
Saltofit.
just brilliant idea and exercise regime that I do try to get involved in, but I know
It's a
I'm
good.
just not ready. I'm just not ready. Please tell the people what you do.
Well, look. Well, it's a the technical word for it is rebounding. The common term for it is, I guess, mini trampolines. So the idea is that each person gets their own rebounder, and we do our half hour. It's a HIIT workout on this rebounder, and it's amazing. There's not a single person that's walked out not loving it. It's great. Um, but just quickly touching back on the COVID thing and how we managed to navigate that, I think that was a little bit of a, without realizing it, it was kind of a blessing for us because it took us in a direction that we hadn't even thought about for our business. At the time, we were right before COVID, we were just about to launch a program in the eastern suburbs out at Bondi, actually. And we were just about to put pen to paper on a location out there. And then literally the week before we locked everything in, COVID, bang, everything shut down. Every gym was closed, every shop, every restaurant, everything closed. And we were like, holy guacamole, what are we going to do? We've got all of this inventory, like we've got all these rebounders. And then we'd just come out of a meeting with the gym that we're currently at. And they were like, until further notice, the gym's shut. And my sister Maria and I were like, what are we going to do? You know, we cannot afford to just let the business just go. And then we're like, what if we just like rent out our trampolines and do something online? And this was around the time Zoom was just starting to, you know, do so. It wasn't really huge, but we'd heard of a few people using Zoom. So we literally put up a story on Instagram that after we pulled the cars, because we were on the phone on the way home from the meeting at the gym, we pulled over on the side of the road. We literally put our phone up on the back of Maria's boot. And we're just like, hey guys, look, if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. And we got ping, 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 ping. And at this stage now, we've still got trampolines out on lease. So, and it's a whole new sort of direction of our business. So now on top of doing in-studio classes, we're also running online classes. And that's actually a part of our business that we're looking, right now we're actually developing. And it's going to be the biggest part of our business within the next year. So the studio classes are great and we love those. And they're, you know, getting in a studio, feeling that vibe, that rush of energy, everyone's just amazing in there. It's great. But I mean, especially now with all these lockdowns and all of this, the online portion of our business is it's taking off, and we're focusing a lot of our energy and time on that at the moment. So we're hoping that in a year's time, you can come back and interview me again, and I'll be talking to you remotely from my office in London.
Oh, wonderful, honey. I love it. We've got to have those goals. We have to have those goals. Congratulations, Dora. That's amazing.
But yeah, so thank you. So look, it was about just running with it. You know, it came and we had to just run with it, and it worked for us. So it was a blessing in disguise, you know, and I don't want to put that lightly, because a lot of people really suffered through COVID. A lot of people still haven't recovered from that first massive lockdown. So we're very blessed, and I'm grateful that I have a, you know, really good support team, and you know, everyone around me, that we share the same dream, you know, we share the same goals. So blessed
Absolutely,
for that. Yeah,
honey. You know what you said.
But yeah, so speaking of, and sorry.
Go on.
Oh no, I was just saying. So look, the exercise that we do. So going back to what we do, everybody is on a rebounder, on a trampoline. So being locked down and being in the home, I guess, you know, and being able to have this sort of exercise, it's different. It's fun. And it's so effective. Like, not only is it great for weight loss, it's great for, you know, to strengthen your bone density. It's great for lymphatic flow. It's great for your skin. It's great for hair. Like, there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of benefits just to rebounding. So, you know, so for people that were locked in their home 24/7, some people getting on that rebounder was just amazing. So I think that was one of the reasons why people held on to their rebounders, and they still have them. A lot of people are still jumping from home, so it's been good.
So awesome. You know what? When I hear these stories of people's sort of triumph through adversity, you know, look, that's a major one. And for any entrepreneur or any business owner to be able to find that silver lining in such a huge sort of dark cloud, right? Like everyone, like people's businesses were being shut. For myself as a DJ, I lost 70% of my income for the year overnight, and I didn't know. I'm still not able to recoup that, and I'm still not up to the gigs that I was DJing at. It's a slow burn, and I don't think it'll ever really get back to that. Because we've got a new normal now, right? So when I hear you say that, like instantaneously, yourself and your sisters switched into that business survival mode and were able to provide such a beneficial service to people who, again, being locked down, you want to focus on your health. You want to make sure mentally you're able to deal with moments of isolation and all that sort of stuff. So you're in a very empowering business, right? What was it that made you get into this business? Because I know I've known you for a minute now, and you've always been a woman who's taken care of herself. You always look good, immaculate, beautiful, all of that sort of stuff. And for you to decide to get into something like this, what was the pivotal moment where you went, this is what I want to do and I'm going for it?
Well, it's funny because if I'm completely honest, that didn't happen. I feel like for me, I definitely feel like I am where I'm supposed to be. And everything that happened in my life leading up to this was leading up to me being here. But when I think back on it, I feel like, and it wasn't an accident, but it feels like it happened accidentally. Right. Although I was always meant to be here, if that makes sense. And look, I've always, I guess I've been lucky in that I've been one of those people all my life that I was able to sort of look good without really taking care of myself. So I was, again, blessed, lucky that I could, no, but listen, hear me out. So, I was able to eat, the pizza and the McDonald's and all of that and go out. I was a big party girl. I used to go out all the time. And, sometimes I'd be that person heading home at like 6 or 7 a.m. and see people jogging. And I'm like, who actually gets up at this time to exercise? Like, isn't it crazy? So I was that person because I was lucky that I never had to.
Yeah.
My sister Maria, on the other hand, she's always been into fitness. Right. She started pretty much straight out of high school. She's always, and it wasn't that she was never a gym junkie, or maybe she was for a little while, but it was just always part of her life.
Right.
And I remember my mom used to be like, you exercise too much. And I used to be like, oh, Maria's always in the gym. It was kind of that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So she's always been into fitness. And then I think probably about 6 years ago when I went through a breakup with my son's dad, it was a really dark time for me. And I remember my sister Maria, she'd gone through something similar recently to that. And she said to me, you just got to get out and move. You just got to move. And I was just like, I just don't want to. I just wanted to be in the dark. I didn't want to see or hear it from anybody, because a lot of people kept on, sending me screenshots. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And I'm like,
the worst thing
as
possible.
People do. I'm sure meaning well, but doing the worst. Yeah. And then I was like, and at the time I had a little baby. And I think the saddest part for me is the first year of my son's life is very clouded. I don't have very many memories of it. Yeah. All my memories are all wrapped up in sadness. So look, that's something that I'm working through too. And I'm trying to remember more things because I'm really upset that my memory of his first year is just wrapped up in sadness, but I had this little baby with me, and I'm like, so I found myself literally in that year because I had just before I got pregnant, I had been made redundant from my job. So then shortly after I was made redundant, I got pregnant. So I was like, well, now I'm 4 months pregnant. Look, there's no point in looking for a job now. So then within that first year, because my son's dad and I, as you know, we broke up sort of in the first year of my son being born. So I found myself that in that year, for the first time in my life, unemployed, a single mother, single for the first time in nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
I was so completely lost. I felt like the rug was completely pulled out from under me. And my sister was like, you just need to move. I was like, so where I live, there's a community. Well, there was a community gym. There's like a little gym here. So I was like, fine. I took my son along in the pram, and I remember sitting on the bike, and I was like crying in the gym. And I looked around, and I was like, and bless the old people from my area. They're beautiful. They were in the gym, but I looked around and I was like, I can't. This is just all like too many old people here. And I started to feel some kind of way. So I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm joining a gym. So I joined the Fitness First. at the time, my sister Maria was working on this trampoline business, but she was also working. She was going through her own thing.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of asleep. And then one day she just sort of came to me. She said, "Look, let's try and put the trampoline thing. Will you help me? We'll put it in this gym." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll fine. I'll help you with the back end stuff, but that's you. You know, the fitness thing is you."
Right.
And anyway, so I started helping her out, sort of like, you know, ordering things from here, doing a little bit, doing some research. This is sort of trying to cut the story short a little bit. And then we started doing classes in this gym. And the first class that we did, we had like 3 people. Yeah. And then the next class, we're like, let's put 5 trampolines out. Anyway, eventually it grew until we had one girl approach us that, bless her, hi, shout out to Dori in Romania. She's running classes for us in Romania at the moment.
My God.
She approached us to be, yes. So yes, so yeah, we do have classes in Romania. If you're ever out in Europe, Romania specifically, we've got classes out there. But so the classes started to get really popular, and Maria said to me, "You're gonna have to help me run classes." Now, I am and have always been very shy. Really, like I have sort of this social anxiety, and you know, a lot of people will see me and go, "Oh my God, no, you don't." But for me, it's like, nah. You know, I'm always that person that sits quietly in meetings, or I always used to be, sit quietly in meetings. I would allow things to happen to me, rather than me being the one to make things happen. You know.
Right. Gotcha.
And then so Maria's like, I need you to help me run classes. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And so Dori, she said, I'll do the classes. And I was like, thank God, yep, she's going to do the classes. Then I remember going home thinking, this is my business.
Yeah.
And, you know, am I really going to allow what has been happening in my life up until now, people coming in and doing that? I'll have an idea, but because I'm so shy, someone else will come and do it. And then I see people progressing over and ahead of me because I've never had the courage to do it. And I was like, you know what? I've just got to do it. At this point, I'd sort of been in the gym thing a little bit, but not really. And I remember the week leading up to my first class, I was nervous, Max. Like, I had the worst tummy aches. I had cramps, anxiety. I was going to the toilet constantly. And I did my first class. It was like horrible for me. I remember like I was so nervous, and it was just 20 people.
Wow.
And I remember getting on the microphone and I was like, woo, yeah, woo. That was it. I was like, woo, woo. That was all I was saying. Woo, woo. But I did it. And I know after that, I was like, oh my God, there was sweat dripping down me. And I was like, you know what? That wasn't too bad. And then after that, I was class after class. And then I've just literally 35 years of this anxiety built up, and I did one class and it was almost like, oh my God, that wasn't so bad. And then after that, I did another class, and then I got more comfortable in the gym and I started training. And then next thing you know, I started to notice definition in my body. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, I stopped partying, I felt happier again. And it's sort of just all like, and then I was like, then all of a sudden it was a thing. People were like asking me like, what's your training schedule? What do you eat? How do you train? What's your this? And I was like, oh. So then that's kind of how it happened. I never sort of set out to be like, yes, I'm going to be this person that, no, it just sort of happened because I was sort of, I guess, doing it I don't know. I was just trying something different.
But you know what?
You know,
listening to you,
it wasn't.
Listening to you tell that story and knowing those moments in your life, obviously for me personally, having known you for a while now, and I know exactly what you were talking about, and the darkness and all of that. You never really showed it though in public, and I guess that's what we do, right? We don't really show how we're really feeling, but as women and women that are sort of connected and know each other's pain, you could tell that there was a lot of I won't say the word struggle, but you could tell that you were trying to find your place and try to find this new normal now, right? Mom, I had no idea that you've been made redundant. So that's a huge wow, because that's a double whammy, right? Because it's like your security blocks are rocked, right? And then the relationship, that's another security block. But you were given a gift of this beautiful little boy, and you're just such an amazing mom, right? Through all of that, watching you with your son, watching how you've just taken on these new roles in your life, and how you've shaped your destiny without even realizing you were. Listening to that story, that is empowerment right there, because you stepped out of your comfort zone and you knew that you had to push yourself past that performance anxiety. So many people suffer with it, or like I suffer with anxiety. I'm crippled by it. As a writer, that's the worst thing you can have, is anxiety, because you're such a vulnerable position to write a book, and you're writing on people's lives, and you want to get it right, and you want to make sure everything has got the right intention. So the amount of pressure I put on myself to perform in every role in my life, the anxiety is front and center. So I commend you for even bringing that up, because a lot of people don't talk enough about anxiety. I think so many of us suffer with it and they just don't verbalize it.
Yeah.
But you never, ever faltered. And for as long as I've known you, you've always had it together. You faltered, but you never showed. You never showed. It was always, there was always a quiet strength there. So to hear you admit that, I'm like, wow, I had no idea this woman was going through all of these things at once. So hats off to you, babe. Like, you just, someone out there needed to hear that. Absolutely needed to hear that.
Oh, thank you. Well, look, it's and I know, and not just me, I know a lot of people very close to me, you know, like touching on the subject of anxiety. I don't even think it's something that we need to like professionally diagnose, you know, and a lot of the time we suffer with anxiety without knowing it, you know, because, you know, waking up in the middle of the night, like, you know, heart palpitations, even things like sweaty palms, your hair's falling out, not being able to, like, so many things, and we don't talk about it enough. It's not normalized enough. Like, people say, oh, you'll be right, you know, and sometimes, you know, we don't know what people are going through. We can look at people that have the shiniest, brightest life on social media, and you don't know what's happening for them, or you're with them, to them. So
Absolutely.
you know, I think everybody's got struggles every day, and you know, there's a lot of things that I guess I think I learned from being a mum, and you know, going back to what happened with COVID and with my business, and not saying that if you're not a mum you don't jump like this, but for me, I was always a pretty laid back, like figure it out later, whatever. Being a mom has sort of taught me, like, boom, you got to jump into action at the drop of a hat, you know, because something can happen with you, you know, especially like having kids, and as you know, of course, like, things change so quickly, and you've got to be able to like mobilize straight away, whatever it is, you know. You've got to, if something's going on for you, like my son, you know, God willing, he's going to grow up and he's not ever going to remember having a sad mum, you know. And it's not to say that I don't want him to see that I don't get sad. You know, I want to normalize that it is okay to be sad, but I don't want him to grow up having memories of a depressed mum. You know what I mean? I want him to know, you know, yeah, mum had her sad moments, but she, you know, she was tough, she was strong. So I guess, yeah, being a mum, you don't consciously say, yes, I'm going to be strong because I want my kids, but it sort of just happens, you know, and the things that you do as a mum really, really, they carry across into your work life, into your romantic life, into your friendship life, into, you know, everyday life. It really carries forward. And it's the greatest lessons, I think, for me personally. Absolutely. And then again, that's not to say that somebody without kids will never, you know, have these lessons, because, you know, there's big things to learn. But for me, I had a lot of growing up to do, and I had to do it really quickly. Really quickly.
Yeah. No, I really think, and again, you know,
it's been
that's a really honest account for you to even say that, because a lot of the time I think, you know, motherhood, whether you plan it or you don't, it happens, and you take it on board, and you do the best that you can, as many books as there are out there, and mums giving us advice, or sisters who've had kids, or friends, or whatever. It's a personal journey, man. Like that mother and child, that walk is a walk that only you can do, based on your connection with your child, your love for your child, and your willingness and wanting and desire to be a mom. And I remember talking to you when you were pregnant, or I think when you told me you were pregnant. We were at a party at a friend's place, I think, and I was like, "Girl, you glowing, you look good." You know how I always act around you, like, "Look at your hair and Latin flower and all this sort of thing." And you grabbed my hand, you're like, Max. I was like, "Yeah." You're like, "I'm pregnant." I was like, "You need a seat. You need to sit." Okay, like, let's. And then you were like, "Okay, yeah. So this is happening, and I don't know. I don't know what to." And I just remembered looking at you, and I'm thinking, man, this is life changing right here, and you got this. Like, you're
I
gonna
don't
be
even
okay.
think I realized. I don't think I even realized how life changing. Like, it's funny. There are certain, and maybe I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's other women and men maybe out there that are the same. But there are certain things that happened in my life where I look at my life in different phases.
Right.
There was, obviously, that I lived in Japan for a few years. So there was my pre-Japan Dora. There was the Japan Dora. There was post-Japan Dora. And then there's mum Dora. You know what I mean? And there's been a really, really like clear definition of when those times started and ended. And when I look at, so between post Japan and mum Dora, there was like that 10-year relationship. So then there's that Dora as well. And I'm really different versions of myself, yet I'm still sort of the same person, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%, honey.
Yeah, I'm sure it makes sense. But,
I totally get it.
Yeah, and I think that the Dora that I was when I found out I was pregnant is a completely different Dora. Like that, I actually don't think I really, really knew what was happening. It's funny. I looked at my son tonight. He came out. I was playing some music, and he came out. He was doing this like really sort of daggy dancing. He has a feeling for music, but he still hasn't quite found his rhythm.
Yeah.
So he comes out and he's like, and he's lost his baby fat. He's in this really weird sort of the 6-year-old phase where there's no more baby fat on him, but he's not quite a grown kid. So he's just like this skinny little child. And he was just like moving, and I'm looking at him like, wow. And I'm laughing, and he's his own person.
Yeah.
But he's the sweetest, kindest, funniest, and I look at him and I'm like, wow. And I'm sure every mother does this, but you're like, I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what did I do to deserve such a beautiful little soul? And I did something right. I must have done something right along the way.
You definitely did.
But yeah, I never, my sister Maria said, he's beautiful. My sister Maria said to me something at my baby shower. Her at my baby shower?
I was there.
I think you were at my baby shower. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maria said during her speech, she said to me something like, motherhood is the most fulfilling job you'll ever have, but it's also the loneliest. Yeah. And I was like, all right, thanks, Mars. Oh, thanks. I don't want to hear that. I've got plenty of people around me. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But obviously now, and not just as a single mom, even a married woman like yourself, like it is still a really, really lonely job. Like, so fulfilling, the most fulfilling, but it is very lonely, because although there's millions of mothers around the world, you're their only mother.
That's it.
That's
it. And that's what I meant.
Only one. That's
that journey. That journey is so personal, right? We share the title with so many women, right? But the journey is singular to you, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that about it being a lonely job, because there are moments, even again, like you said, as a married woman, that my husband doesn't understand that role of the mother. Like the disciplinarian thing is very different between father and mother. But then the nurturing, for me, I'm the one that, even if they're in a lot of trouble, like a fire and brimstone, all of that sort of stuff, but dad has got the different, the different voice, and this different kind of, well, this is what I said, and God, I'm not your mom, and then I'll be, come here, I understand what dad said, but it's just all these things. And there are moments where I'll sit there and I'll go, they'll never understand what it's like. It's an impossible love. And you never know if you're loving enough. You just know that you're giving all that you can. And you're just doing the best that you can. But then that's where the lonely feelings are, is the questioning and the overthinking. And when they go to school, oh my God, are they going to be okay? What happens if this? I've got to monitor that. It's a constant thing, and it can be very lonely in that. So you're very true, very true. Whether you're married, whether you're single, it can be fraught with loneliness, fraught with it.
Yeah, it is. And it's, it's also, so in my household, I have to be the, the good cop and the bad cop, I'll be the disciplinarian, go to your room. And then I'm also the one that runs in there 2 minutes later, baby, I'm sorry, so I have to be mum and dad. And then, sometimes it's, it's a double, like I don't want to be both. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I see unfortunate situations, where there are some women that are in, issues with their ex-partners, so they have to share the custody, I guess, with their exes, and they don't agree with the way they parent, or they don't get along with each other, and they have to see each other, and and I just think to myself, I kind of prefer it this way, when I don't have to share him with anybody.
That's true.
It's a bit selfish,
seriously,
but
it seems to be the best method, I think. And I just, again, when I see you posting photos of him and you, and just everything, watching your journey, you may have entered it not knowing and feeling, extremely like sort of foggy and what am I doing? But you've done incredibly well. So congratulations. He's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, like I said before, I'm sure I was always meant to be here.
Yeah.
So although I still hold a lot of, for me, there's still a lot that I have to work through. But at the end of the day, I think more than anything, I'm really working on this feeling of gratitude, because whatever I went through, especially the bad, that's, that's the stuff that, the good stuff is great. And we remember the good stuff fondly, but it's usually the bad stuff that we hold here for a long time. And it's sort of that stuff that I have to really stop and be grateful for, because without all of that, I wouldn't have my little ding dong that I call him,
Absolutely.
So
everything happens for a reason.
Not just him, but that's right. And the business as well. I needed to move my body, and when I started exercising max, everything changed for me. And it sounds so cliche, and I tell a lot of the ladies that I just, it changes the chemistry in your brain. It changes the chemistry in your heart. It changes the chemistry everywhere. And it's just this new, so, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really this newfound lease on life. You feel younger. I feel now in my 40s, I'm in the best shape of my life. I put myself up against 20-year-old me. And although I would have loved my 20-year-old cheekbones back and my 20-year-old skin back.
Stop it.
20-year-old me does not hold a flame against 40-year-old me. No way.
Yeah.
So I am where I am because of everything that I've been through. And I think we have to.
You have to. I get all of that about the 40-year-old you wanting to sort of have the 20-year-old you cheekbones, but I think sort of your cheekbones are fire, honey. So I don't know how much more defined they were at 20. I don't need to see that. I'm very happy with what I'm looking at right now. But hearing you say that, to me, again, I've always looked at you in awe, going, wow, she really, really keeps herself together. all of these amazing things. And to hear you say that, needed to be pushed to kind of exercise and to move. And I'm looking at you thinking naturally you were always out there running like those women in the pavements at 4 o'clock in the morning, all of that sort of stuff. So I've learned that about you now, because you naturally looked like that's what you were doing. So whether you were just born naturally to be able to eat whatever and still hold the figure you had, to hear you say that again, that's another empowering sort of little nugget there, because you empowered yourself in order to do that. So that's inspired me to go, I know that when you move and when you exercise, that whole kind of connection to your inner self and feeling good, so you do good, and when you look good you feel good, all that kind of stuff, it really is true. It's not cliche, it really is true. But it's finding the motivation. I think for me, I really have a hard time with the motivation. Psychologically for me, I'm retraining my brain now about the foods that I need at this age. I'm 45, so I eat differently. Everything falls differently. Gravity's not kind to me right now. So I'm trying to. There's a whole other hill I'm trying
to anybody.
So hearing you say that, it really inspires me more to go, man, I felt like you have felt. I know I need to move. My husband's constantly going, let's go for a walk. And I'm like, yep, then we go for a walk. And then my whole body's aching afterwards. And I'm like, I walked, then that was last week. Do you know what I mean? So how did you find the motivation to keep going? Like, did you ever fall into slumps and go, I don't want this? Like, how did you just keep pushing?
Always. I think the best thing to do is find a buddy. That's it. A buddy. And when I started making friends at the gym, that's when it really because we would be like, all right, see you tomorrow. Yeah. And then I didn't want to let them down and they didn't want to let me down. And then we would have tomorrow we're doing legs, or tomorrow we're doing this. And, and then I had one buddy and we were always training together, and we both trained the same way. We both like that really intense, heavy. And shout out to Gatry. And so she would want to push heavier than me, and I would want to lift heavier than her. But she was strong. I could never be as strong as her. But having that buddy is probably, especially if you're somebody that's really struggling with motivation, having a buddy is the best way to do it, because it's hard to motivate yourself. Even for me, just now, so about a month ago, I got a little back injury from exercising. Okay. And I was seeing the physio for it. I'm better now, but it really scared me off it for a little while. And I was like, no, I can't exercise because I'm injured. I couldn't lift up my son. I hurt one of my discs. Wow. And I couldn't lift up my son. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't getting in and out of the car. And so I was like, no, I'm not exercising. So I went for about 2 weeks and going from exercising 6 times a week. Saltofit 6 times a week. Wow. And strength training 4 times a week. So I was exercising really regularly. I went from that. I was probably doing Saltofit maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I stopped strength training. And just in 2 weeks, I didn't feel like it anymore. I'd be like, I don't feel like training. I just didn't want to. And only now, I think since about last week, I'm like, that's it. I've got to get back into it. And even now I'm still trying. So what I've actually had to do was schedule it in. So I've got my diary, my calendar with my clients, and this client 9:30 to 10:30. I've scheduled myself in as a client. Yeah. So I look at it's not just my workouts are not something that I just let me quickly throw it in. It's part of my daily schedule. Yeah. And right now that's the only way that I'm going to hold myself accountable, because otherwise I'd be like, I'm just going to go have a quick nap, or let me just go and reply to some emails. So you have to either, for me, I'm sort of, not that I'm past the stage of needing a buddy, but I still do need that motivation. I still need something to help me push. For me, it's scheduling it in. Yeah. But I think if you are somebody that that struggles with that, I think having a buddy, and that's how for me it started. I started training with a friend of mine, Gatry, and you know, we would train together all the time. We both had babies about the same age.
Wow.
And we would put our babies in the creche and we would train, and then we'd go for a coffee. And then we'd, you know, or, do you know what I mean? So that really works. So my advice would be find a buddy, somebody, and, you know, it's not always as simple as just finding somebody who's got the same goals as you. But if you've got somebody that's really motivated for the same reasons as you are, that helps even more.
Yeah.
So that would
Thank
be
you
my
for
best
that.
advice for somebody finding a buddy. And there's no shortage of women wanting to get fit and healthy.
Yeah.
So finding a buddy won't be hard.
Absolutely. Now, to veer off obviously the fitness topic and get onto the book. How have you felt?
Wonderful book, by the way.
Thank you. How have you felt being involved in something like this? And how did you feel when I asked you initially to contribute your life story, like a little chapter?
And I said this to you before you hit record. It was weird because I was just like, me? Like, who wants to hear about me? Like, I didn't really get it. But I was like, okay, this would be kind of fun. And I remember, and I'm going to be totally honest with you here, Max, totally honest with you and your subscribers. I remember feeling so much anxiety about your like release date, because I was like, oh my God, people are going to read my story and they're going to think like, oh my God, she's so lame. That's what I was thinking, you know.
Wow.
When I saw it in print and I reread it, I was like, okay, I thought, you know what, let me read this as if it's not me. Let me just cover my picture and read it as if it's not me.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's not too bad. But I was really, really nervous. Again, coming back to my social anxiety, I was really, really nervous about it. And, you know, you know, some of my family and my friends read it and they were like, oh my God, and they hugged me and they loved it. And I was just like, oh, I was really, really embarrassed, you know. And I kind of, in my head, I thought, you know, this is an amazing thing. Like, I need a book. You know, my story is being published. Like, oh, like it's, you know, it's one of those things that you've got to really look at it from a different perspective. But, you know, my old thinking of the I'm not good enough, or am I, you know, just was really like, I felt really, but, you know, having read now and looking at the stories of the other women, like the other part of me is like, oh my God, do I really belong in this book amongst these other amazing women with these incredible stories, you know? But I have to remind myself that, yes. And you know, we are, myself and the, you know, the 20 odd other women in this book, we are just a small snippet of a population of women who all have stories that are exactly the same, which is why this book is amazing, because people can relate to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I was honored. Thank you very much for asking me. But I felt really anxious about it, to be perfectly honest, because I was like, who wants to hear about me?
Well, evidently a lot of people want to hear about you, and you know what, that's not the first time that I've heard that response. There were a few other women in the book that when I first emailed them to ask them, they were like, Max, but I'm nobody special. And I was so shocked. I'm shocked to hear your admission of it, because I've always found you to be a very, very strong and empowering woman because of how I've watched your journey. And I think the lesson that's come out for me is how I view others. I've assumed that they view themselves the same way, right? Because I look at you up here and you're going, well, why me? Like, you haven't looked at yourself, because that's who you are. And you've entered into it and you've shared your story. And in doing that, you've gone to where you belong, right? But you were looking at it from down here going, oh, but all these other women are in it. And who wants to hear my story? And you've got such an amazing story. And the way, again, like I said, the way you carried yourself, the way you've handled yourself, that's what this book is about. It's about how you've overcome adversity and how you've reached your triumph and how you've survived all these little things. So to hear you say that, it's not the first time. I've had, again, a lot of women say to me, oh my God, I was so nervous and I was a little embarrassed, and who cares about my little life. And I've gone, please don't ever say your little life, because you're inspiring so many people without even realizing it. So I'm really grateful that you said yes. So thank you for asking me.
Well, I think also to you, Max, I'm grateful, because I think, you know, you telling the stories of women who are empowered, I think what you have done, and unbeknownst to you, I guess, is that you have actually made me feel empowered, you know, because I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, I do belong. Whereas before, when I was telling my story, I was like, oh my gosh, I was cringing at myself, you know. But what you have done in turn is actually you've actually helped me to feel empowered, because although yes, maybe my story may sound empowering to some people, I don't feel empowered as I go about my everyday business. I'm just doing what I have to do to get to this next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. So I don't feel like what I'm doing is specifically empowering. But I think what you have done, and I'm sure not just for me, but for the other women in the book, is that you have actually shown us that what we have done is empowering. You're a woman that does many things, or that, you know, and I think I'm grateful to you for that as well, because I never in a million years would have, you know, 10 years ago, like if you'd have told me I'd be in a published book, I'd be like, okay. But so thank you for that. I think that you as well are very empowering, because you've done so many. As long as I've known you, you've always been like, you know, someone that's up here, you know, radio, you know, DJing, you're out about, you know, absolutely everybody in Sydney. Everybody.
I try. I don't know if they want me to know them.
You're
I try, honey.
You know? Yeah. It doesn't matter, you know them. Whether they want you to know them or not, you know them. So you're incredible. And it's been amazing. Like, it's funny because you and I, like, our friendship, it's so, like, it's been more than 20 years we've been friends, and we like see each other here, there, and everywhere, and it's like not a day has passed when we see each other, you know. All the big stuff.
It is awesome. And I mean, we might not always, like, we don't always catch up, we don't always hang out, but we're there for the important things. Like, you've been to my, you know, my youngest son's baby shower. I've been to your boy's baby shower. You've come to my birthdays. You know, I've come to a couple of your things. And when we see each other out, it's always love, you know. And even like years ago when we met, you know, we may just have sort of met in passing, but then we've known mutual friends, and there's been a gravitation, just being women and having that
queens, that's
queens, that's it. It's queen things, babe, like, seriously. And I'm really grateful. I think it's just great. I really do love that this book sort of encapsulates not only friendships for me, but that collection of queens that I'm very grateful to know and to share time and space with. You know, whether we see each other all the time or just occasionally, everybody's kind of bonded and binded now, and that's a legacy, right? So our kids grow up one day, and I don't know if you do this, but I ask myself, you know, am I enough? Am I doing enough for my boys to look back and go, this is what my mum did, right? And not for bragging rights, but what have I left for them? What's the legacy here for me, you know? And I look at my books, and I look at the women, and I just think that's it, you know. So whoever my sons marry, those girls, better step correct. They better know whose house they're stepping in. I always tell them that. And that poster will always be in the entryway too. So, oh, your mum did that. That's right.
Yeah.
But it's that counterpoint for me. It's that counterpoint. You know,
she is empowered, my mum.
She's empowered, and if you aren't, you can't date me. So that's just how that goes. But yeah, it's always that. It's the legacy, right? So we have to keep asking ourselves that. But I also believe we've got to give ourselves a break too. I think we need to just realize that
really tough. Yeah, we're really tough on ourselves. So, like you said, I always think the same thing too, and I wonder, am I doing the right thing by my son? You know, am I doing the right thing by this? You know, So, and it's hard. Sometimes we're like, oh, I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing enough, or, you know, and especially again, as a single mom, I worry sometimes, does he need a male? Like, I've got, my son is being raised by myself, my sisters, and my mum, my girlfriends. Do you know what I mean? So he literally has women all over him. So I often think, you know, does he need more of a male role model in his life? You know, so I feel guilty that I'm not providing him that I can't be this big burly man in his life. But then at the same time, I think, you know what? My son is going to grow up with so much respect for women, you know, because he's going to know how to treat them. He's going to know, because every single woman in my life makes sure that Nairi treats them with respect. And he's a very respectful little boy. So I think, you know what? He's not going to not be
That's right.
a man.
That's
because there's not a man around. You know, he might be a little bit more sensitive, but that's
there's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, so yeah, I know, and but I do beat myself up about that sometimes. I just think, oh, you know, do I need to? But I don't want to force a male role model in his life just because, you know. So
absolutely. I think
I'd rather him be raised by strong women than a shitty guy.
That's it. Oh, honey, absolutely. He's being raised with the queen energy, and I think, you know, as he gets older, he's going to, you know, understand that, and I think he's also going to realize that, you know, as he gets older, and, you know, the boys start, you know, looking at other females and girls and the dating world, there's going to be a standard. Listen,
no.
I have a 12-year-old who's already talking about it, so I'm sorry, I have to talk. I have to vent because I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do know that there's a sensitivity there, and he is very aware of always be kind, always be gentle, and you're not always going to connect with the woman or the girl, and you're not always going to, you know, it doesn't always work out, but please be respectful. Never hurt her or make her feel like she's not worthy. If she's not the girl for you, communicate that and be respectful about it, because the last thing you want is a situation, you know, and that's all that you can impart. Is just choose kindness, you know, and be respectful.
Choose kindness.
Absolutely. But I think your little one will be just fine, sweetheart. I really do. I really do.
He's good. One of the first I ever taught him about girls, and something I taught him about girls, how to treat girls, and he repeats it to me all the time, is protect and respect. And I drill that into him, and he like so cute about it. He's, mommy, protect and respect. I was like, that's it. That's how we treat women. We protect them and we respect them. So if he lives by that, then lucky is the woman or man
absolutely
that gets him,
lucky the relationship, you know, that he has,
or that he chooses.
Absolutely. Well done, honey.
So he's
where can we so people can people that are watching and they want to know what, like, where they can get involved with your amazing fitness business, where are you currently running classes at the moment?
So at the moment, we're only running classes in the western suburbs, Bankstown, Chullora, specifically at World Gym. Again, we're about to open our inner west, which is Roselle, Balmain, but that's on hold at the moment. Again, all these little snap lockdowns, it's a bit funny. But if anyone's interested in doing our online program, they can email us info@saltofit.com, or they can visit our website saltofit.com. That's it. But look, they can find us there, and that's at the moment. Or if you're in Romania, you could do a class in Romania.
That'd be great. Thank you for subscribing in Romania. Really appreciate you, and you can go and get fit as well afterwards. Yes. That's great. Congratulations on all of that, hon.
But you know, again, we've got thank you. We've got big plans for this next year, so we will be popping up in lots of little locations. around Sydney. So
I need to
yeah,
get
keep an eye
myself to
out.
one of these classes. I really do. I know I've been saying that to you, but now you know my issue. I lack motivation. But I think there comes a time where you just know when you need to do it, and I need to do it. So I'm looking for different ways of exercising. I'm not a gym
I was
person.
running classes out by you for a little while.
I know you were, and I just
Remember?
wasn't in the headspace. I
Mm-hmm.
think to me, I think I can't do it, but I know I can. I just need to do it
You
and
can,
get
absolutely.
involved. So I do need to come and get involved, because I what you've said about how you just kind of took one day at a time and just kept going, and now you love it and it's transformed your life. Those little bits of information really inspire me. So I just need to do it.
Mm. Well, it's kind of like what I tell my son. My son's he's very competitive, and he's also very impatient. But when he gets something in his head, he just does it over and over and over and over and over again. And I tell him, I said, because he'll have he'll try and do something and he can't do it, and he gets annoyed, doesn't want to do it. And I'm like, just keep doing it. And he practices, and the more he does it, the better he gets at it, and the better, until before you know it, it's second nature.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I guess, with getting motivated or working out. Like in the beginning, you're like, oh, I just don't want to. I'm just not into it. But then the next day you do it, and before you know it, you don't go to the gym for 1 or 2 days, and you're like, oh my God, I need to go. I need to go for a walk or something.
Yeah.
And it's just that initial getting out there and just starting and getting past that phase of not wanting to. But
Well,
I'm going to drag you into the studio with me, Max, and we're going to put it up on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh
for
God.
all your subscribers.
The people don't need to see that, honey. Oh no,
yes,
they don't.
They do. Listen, everybody that's watching, please, we need to put this video up of you at my class. That's going to be a great one. That'll get a lot of views. We'll make it go viral.
Oh God, I hope it goes viral for the right reasons, Dora, and it doesn't shut it down, right? It can just shut everything down. No, I'm joking. I need to believe in myself. I need to. All right, we'll talk off air and we'll make something happen. But listen, thank you so much for your time tonight and for again sharing your truth and breaking through that anxiety bubble that I can't believe you and I both sort of share that, but I'm really, really proud of you. And I always say this, and I really am excited for what lies ahead for you. So excited.
Same. Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, for putting this book together. It's been amazing. Like I said, it was like, for me, I was really anxious. I was like, oh, people are going to read about me. But it's been good. It's been, I needed something like this. So it's one of those things that helped me to it just helps me to come up a little bit more. I need to step in more and more into what I know I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be more than here. And I'm finding my way in slowly. Things are happening that are reminding me that I'm stepping in. I'm stepping in, and this was part of it. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for tonight, and we will reconnect again and find out where the business is growing and just all of the incredible things. But thank you, my love. Love you lots, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Max. Bye.
Bye, darling.